everybody, and welcome to the Aggieville Alleycats podcast. If I'm rain, shine, or anything between, we're here to deliver to you the Kansas State sporting news you so love. I'm Ace Edwards, alongside
Connor Baltazar.
And welcome to the official return of the weekly recap, because we actually have sports to talk about now as opposed to silly hypotheticals or just relying on pressers. Don't misunderstand. We're talking about pressers first, but that isn't the only content that we have for this week. But we are going to start with the football press conferences. The coordinators came out today, and they were the ones that were scheduled to come out. But I think the biggest piece of news to glean from that was Colin Klein actually came out first and gave the bad news that, Connor and I were kind of, I don't want to say we're sitting on it because we hadn't recorded an episode in the meantime between when the news happened, like when it actually happened versus when we recorded. But K-State is down 2-1, 1.5, depending on how you want to categorize it, starting offensive tackles. John Pastore, what I heard was he tore his knee or tore his ACL. Colin Klein just said it was a lower leg injury, which maybe it's an Achilles as well, or it could just be an Achilles. That still takes people out for a season. And then George Fitzpatrick didn't hit his medical milestone, so he won't be playing this year either. George Fitzpatrick, kind of take it or leave it. John Pastore is a massive loss, though. And I think that, for me at least, John Pastore is sitting right in between Asa Newsome and Mark Smith on the all-time K-State deserved better team.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, this is another huge setback for John Pastore, which is just brutal because he's dealt with many injuries throughout his time at K-State, which is such a shame because coming in, he was a prospect that you and I, especially you, were very excited about. And last year on what was otherwise like the worst offensive line that K-State's had in my entire life, like he was still like an excellent left tackle. And he deserves a ton of credit for that. And so losing him this close to the season, like there's no like way to like skirt around it. Like that's a major, major loss. And we can't count on K-State being able to replace that level of talent in this shorter window. It's just not really possible, or it's not realistic to expect. Because Pastore was a second-team all-conference offensive tackle as a left tackle, and he did that on like the worst O-line that K-State's had in my life. So that. Honestly, that's a performance where if we have like an average offensive line last year, he's probably the first team all-conference guy because so often that stuff is affected just by the team. But yeah, John Pastore losing him, like that's just a punch in the gut before the year even begins. And yeah, George Fitzpatrick, he's someone that you really hoped would be ready. It's, I guess, not really that surprising in hindsight, but that's another one that really hurts because he was somebody, when you got him from Ohio State, that was a big get for K-State. And it's just been more setbacks for him. It really, really sucks to lose those two guys before the year begins. And if we can't find ways to, at the very least, plug the leaks, it's going to really limit the ceiling of the team.
Yeah. I do want to present a little bit of optimism about it because, yes, losing those two players sucks, especially Pastore. But if you want a little bit of optimism, I don't think that if you're looking at pure ceiling, I don't think that losing those two like completely collapses your ceiling. It does lower the floor a little bit to where I thought the floor beforehand was like 8-4, 7-5, somewhere in there. Now probably just subtract a win from that as a floor. But I think the ceiling largely remains the same, and that's because of the two people that I project as stepping up in replacing them. The first one is the more, I don't want to say the more obvious one, but the one that's been on the roster longer, and that's Gus Hawkins at right tackle, who you and I both really liked when he was coming out of high school. He's a former top 100 recruit, Kansas City guy or the Shawnee side of Kansas. Shout out to Deanna's high school, Mill Valley, who continually kicked Pittsburgh High's ass anytime that they met in the state football playoffs.
They did that to almost everybody, to be fair.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. They did do that to everybody. But we were really high on him when he committed. I think you and I, the only difference between you and I's evals were we were both, this guy has the ceiling of like a first-round draft pick. The only difference that we had was which side of the line he was going to play on.
Yeah. The Hawkins, that's a great name to have backfilling. The only thing I was worried about was I know he's coming off a knee injury of his own from last year. And I think there was a point this offseason where they weren't 100% sure if he was going to be ready week 1. But it seems like those concerns have been assuaged. Major knock on wood there, because like if Hawkins goes down, then it is like red alert at that point in regards to the offensive tackles. Like all of the very intelligent ball knowers on the foundation might actually be onto something at that point about any time the tight end is like big, like can he play offensive line? Like it actually might be time to do that at that point.
Will Ancio right tackle, boys.
I'd rather not, but Cody Cook threw passes in 2015. Like anything is possible.
That's true. Yeah, we were both really high on Gus Hawkins, but the other guy that's been getting a lot of buzz even before the injuries were public is Oliver Miller, whereas I keep calling him Ollie, which has annoyed some people because they refuse to call someone who's like 6'6", 300 pounds Ollie. I will continue to do it. And if he wants to stuff me in a trash can, there's not really anything that I can do about it. But my comp for Oliver Miller coming out of high school was John Pastore, like college John Pastore, a stronger version of high school John Pastore. And I would give him the nod at left tackle just because, admittedly, it comes with a massive caveat of I don't see anyone else that is a natural left tackle other than Gus, but it sounds like he needs to be on the right side is what it sounds like. And the alternatives are Tyler Johnson, who we thought was going to be like the sixth swing man, Ryan Howard. If Ryan Howard takes left tackle snaps in non-garbage time, we have lost. That just quite simply, we have lost that game. But I think that Oliver Miller, especially given all of the buzz, normally whenever you hear buzz about certain players, it's like 1, 2, at most 3 people. Every single person that has covered K-State and every single interview that has been done with a coach has brought up Oliver Miller. All of them. I don't think Deuce was getting this much hype from the coaching staff and media before he played.
Yeah, I think the best comp for a young player that was about to break out getting this much hype might be Felix. I think that's the only one I can think of in the time of the show where somebody was getting that much hype. There's been plenty of guys that gotten hype and some have lived up to it and some haven't. But yeah, Oliver Miller has been a very consistent name that keeps getting brought up. And talk about timely with that. Because you really don't want to have to start a true freshman on the offensive line in college football, especially at left tackle or maybe center. But it's not unprecedented to start young guys on the offensive line. BJ Finney, I don't recall if he redshirted or not, but he was a freshman when he started K-State. And
so was Cooper Beebe, but he redshirted. Nick Leckey, I don't think redshirted though.
Yeah, and again, Nick Leckey, that's a K-State Ring of Honor type guy. So the list of freshman starters on the offensive line at K-State is very, very short. But the ones that actually did it, have gone on to be legendary level like K-State offensive linemen. So if Oliver Miller is able to do that and be an effective player, then if we're able to keep him around, because a true freshman starting quality left tackle in Power 4 football, like I think the only more expensive positions would be like an All-American edge rusher and a very good Power 4 starting quarterback. Like those are the only more expensive pieces. Maybe like a generational wide receiver, but like those aren't growing on trees. So if Oliver Miller can be great, not even great, just like if he can be solid, that's like season like floor raisers right there. Because yeah, he's someone that when we got him, we were very excited about him, you and I. He like it's for me, it's always been him or Max Levitt as favorite in the class. And Oliver Miller, he's somebody that like he got some like pretty heavy interest from Ohio State late in the recruiting cycle. He's like got a very good path to being a strong offensive lineman. I wasn't expecting it to necessarily be this year, and it may still not be. I guess we'll see. But a lot of signs are pointing that way. His name keeps coming up. His name keeps coming up unprompted is the big part, I think. And then that's going to be probably the name to watch at this point because, yeah, Gus Hawkins, I think, Sharpie for right tackle, assuming his knee's good. But yeah, otherwise, it's Oliver Miller. And if it's not him, it's Ryan Howard or Tyler Johnson, I think, which Tyler Johnson has Power 4 playing experience at Auburn. He was okay. And ideally, I guess, could be playable to like rotate a bit. But like Ryan Howard, like in my mind, was always more of a guard. I mean, he's too tall, but like that's his that's like his athletic profile, other than his height. So he's the almost never before seen tweener on the offensive line. So
yeah, I don't want to see Ryan Howard on the field, honestly. I'm sure he's a nice person. He's not someone that I want to rely on. And we said, maybe it was just me, maybe I'll hold the jinx on this one, but I remember saying about one of the line positions that we could weather like one injury where otherwise it would have been catastrophic. I think it was the offensive line. We're at 2. If we hit another injury to the tackles, we are down to like 2 tackles. And there's a guard injury that's notable. It doesn't sound like it's season ending. I want to give credit to Drew Galloway on Twitter for pointing this out. But Tanner Morley, who we knew had injury concerns at Colorado State, sounds like he's going to be hurt for probably the first month or so, if I had to guess. That one's easier to replace, and that's no disrespect to Tanner Morley. I think he will be a very good guard when he does play. But guards are we have more of them. We have Chase Duarte. We have Charlie Adams. I think if push came to shove, LaMarcus Barber wouldn't immediately die if we put him out there. But we have Villarreal, Jones. We have a bunch of people at guard who could play, Shunky as well. Tackle is what scares me now.
Yes. No, I completely agree with you. Honestly, Charlie Adams is someone, yeah, you want him on the interior, but I would put Charlie Adams at tackle before I put Ryan Howard out there because Charlie Adams, even though he is definitely not big enough to be a tackle at this level, but he did play left tackle for Cal Poly in the FCS level. So he's at least done it in real life college football games before. So like I'd rather put him there than like a few of the other guys. Like Ryan Howard, I would be fine with at right tackle hypothetically and shifting Gus over to the left if that's what it took. I don't think we're gonna have to do that though. So like that's not a bridge to cross right now. But yeah, interior, I'm with you. Like there's more guys that we can bring in. And then, yeah, Dylan Villarreal is especially valuable because he's multi-positional. He could start at center, but he could be a starting guard too if we needed him to be. He played some guard last year. He's somebody I think that we can rely on. And then Keaton Jones, he's another one that was, I think, kind of banged up for a bit in training camp. So if he's healthy, like having him as a starting guard would be huge as well. And then, losing Tanner Morley, that stinks if we lose him for hopefully not too long, maybe no more than half the season, I hope. But man, I'd really like to have him back by the Houston game. If we beggars could be choosers, that's what I would choose.
Yeah. So those were the notable offensive line injuries and updates. The press conferences to me weren't too notable. We didn't hear much. Jordan Peterson, he seems like a defensive coordinator and that he seems a little crazy, but I think that's a universal, like, good defensive coordinator trait, unless your name is Dave Aranda pre-2022, where he seems like a perfectly normal kind of stoic guy. But Sean Gleason, whatever. Honestly, I think the one that we gleaned the most from was Stanton Weber on special teams. And the main thing to note there is apparently everyone is working out at returner except Joe Jackson, which we heard Joe Jackson a few weeks ago was working out at returner. I'm very happy that he's no longer doing that, because I have a thing. I hate starters on return teams. It bothers me to no end, because to me the risk is too high, especially if you want that player to get anywhere from 10 to 13 touches a game. You can't afford to have them on return teams. There were two notable names, one that was mentioned before, the other one was new. Both are running backs. Jay Harris is still apparently taking kick returns, which wasn't on my bingo card. And then Montario Elston is the new name of the list, because the list, like I said, was just about everyone. But the ones that I immediately took note of were Jay Harris, Money Elston, Brandon White, and I think Isaiah Williams is working a little bit back there as well.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like, generally, not a lot was given away at these coordinator pressers. I'd imagine they probably all got a crash course at the Bill Snyder School of Coach Speak with Colin Klein this year. So, they gave away a few things here and there. But Jordan Peterson really, and the main things that we're getting for him are that Coy Beasley probably taken some of the biggest steps over the last few months. JoJo Scott reinforcing that he's taking a lot of steps there as well. And then Chase Duarte getting some mentions, Charlie Adams getting some mentions, and Jay Harris still getting those snaps as a returner. Not something I would have guessed at all. But I'm a little surprised Max Lovett hasn't been someone that's been mentioned by name as a guy that is going to potentially take some kicks and punts this year. I was really hoping that we'd be able to find a way to get him on the field this year, because I really think Max Lovett's going to be a good football player. I'd like to get him on there early. But if we're looking at it and we think that Rodney Fields or Jay Harris or Money Elston or Brandon White are going to be better options, and okay, that's fine. But I'm really, really hopeful that we can put together some really exciting special teams, because I know I think through bits and pieces of the Kleiman era, there's been, I think at least to some degree, it's been cope, where there's been a desire to downplay the significance of special teams, but it feels like we lost a couple games because of bad special teams, and there's been a couple games that we won because we actually had pretty good special teams. Like I was thinking about like KU, like there's a couple of games in that series in 23 and 24. I think there's a pretty strong argument that special teams is what won us those games. Then Houston 24, it's not all special teams is the reason that we lost, but man, some muffed holds, like not being able to execute the kicks in the rain. It's a big reason why we lost that game too. So special teams, like I think we just got so used to it being a K-State thing that we kind of forgot that it like actually is really valuable if you're really, really good at it. And I'm hoping that we can bring that back because it's honestly a part of the game that I like.
You can undo the weather of either the Iowa State game or the Houston game that year. Which one are you undoing?
In 24?
Yeah.
Probably Houston. I think Iowa State came after, I think. And that
I'm thinking of 23 Iowa State, the like 7 billion yard rushing game.
Yeah, the snow game.
Yeah.
I honestly would still say 24 Houston. Mainly because I think that 23 Iowa State game, I do think that we got mathematically eliminated from the Big 12 championship prior to that, whereas that Houston game in 24, like we were like right in it for the Big 12 title game going into that. Like we were like 7-1, I think, going into that game.
Mm-hmm.
So like,
and the wheels fell off.
Yeah. We lost that Houston game. I think the next week might have been the loss to Arizona State.
Yep.
Then I think we blew out Cincinnati, and then we lost at Iowa State. I think that's how we ended that regular season.
Yep.
So I'll take that Houston game.
Yeah. That's all for the football news. Now we can talk about the other football news. The Soccer Cats, they always kick off the K-State athletic year. And this time we actually have 3 matches to cover from them. All of them victories, which I will admit it always feels better to cover victories if it's a K-State sport. But the first match of the year was a 4-0 victory in favor of K-State, where you had 4 different goals scored and 4 different people scored them. McKinnon Braswell scored in the 12th minute, Rylan Rintoul right at the 22nd or the 22-minute mark, Lauren Moylan at the 66-minute mark, and then Kennedy Miller at the 73-minute mark. So, blowout Seattle University. They're not, world beaters, but hey, we take wins as they come.
Yeah, Seattle. Actually, I was looking it up. They're actually like not a bad program, which kind of surprised me. At least last year, they actually finished higher in RPI and the Massey ratings than we did. Now, I don't know how much of that is like 100% reliable, but I'm looking at their Massey rating. They finished 59th. Last season, like that, it's pretty dang good. For a program not in a power conference, we finished 66 last year, and that was our best season that we ever had, and 63rd in RPI. So, I'm not sure how good Seattle is going to be this season. But for what it's worth, after we beat them 4-0, they went and drew 0-0 with Texas Tech. Also down in Hawaii. I feel like that's pretty noteworthy. Granted, I think I saw on Twitter that game was a monsoon. Apparently it was going on, metaphorically speaking, but it was crazy weather conditions. But Texas Tech was a top 25 team. Blowing out a team that was able to go toe to toe with a really strong conference opponent, it's encouraging. So I'm happy with that. And good to see some goal scoring early because, last year was so much fun finally having like a watchable soccer team, a team that we could be proud of. But the one thing they really struggled with was scoring goals. They were just a defensive juggernaut, but they really, really struggled converting the chances they were given. So starting out with a 4-0 blowout, that's a nice way to set the tone for the year. I'm very happy with that, especially getting Lauren Moylan and Kennedy Miller goals late in the game, because those are both true freshmen, with Moylan being a starter as a true freshman. So I got to be excited about having some young contributors as well.
Yeah. And I want to give a shout out to Brian Smoller for his episode. Well, not only, just in general. He does great work at ESPN Plus, handles pretty much all the non-revs. But he did a great Blitz Month episode with our friend Scott Wildcat at Bosco's Boys. We had one of the most efficient defenses in the conference last year. There were just times that, the offense didn't follow. So opening up the way that we did in these first 3 matches is incredibly encouraging. And that carries over into the match up against Hawaii, where K-State wins 3-1. Hawaii scored really quick. They scored in the 4th minute and then never again. K-State scored in the 28th, 47th, and 52nd minute with Gabby Demers, Anna Pagano, and Allison Marshall being the scorer of those particular goals. So again, this was in their home. I'm not sure if it was in their home stadium, but it was in their home state, Hawaii's home state, because these games were played in Hawaii. So, I mean, it can't be any more miserable in Hawaii than it was here in Kansas for those weeks, because good Lord. But, yeah, another good offensive show. I don't know a damn thing about soccer. I've been very open about this. That's why I read the scores.
Yeah, like this was another good performance. You're right, and yeah, this was encouraging to see 3 different players score, and then the assists came from 2 different players as well. So multiple different players getting involved, and it's hard to draw a ton of conclusions as well from these games, just because the first game was not televised at all, and this one was paywalled behind like Mountain West Plus. Which was like $85 or something like that, and I declined. So, stinks to let Hawaii get out to like an early lead like that, but we still outshot them 16-7 and doubled them up 6-3 on shots on goal. But the big one, or one of the big ones, I guess, is also corner kicks. We had 9, Hawaii had 0, and then Hawaii fouled 9 times. This is a big one. We only fouled twice. Last year, we played great defense. We also fouled a ton.
We were playing haram ball last year.
We did, which, you know what, viable strategy. Like, it got us above 500 for the first time ever. So, we take those. But at the same time, if we can play excellent defense without fouling, that's even better, because that just means we're being even more efficient. So, now, granted, Hawaii not as good an opponent as Seattle. Now, granted, Seattle was good last year. We don't know what they'll be this year, but Hawaii, they have a Massey rating of 167 this year. They were 151 last year and 117 in 2024. So not like a historically great program, at least recently, but still that's a quality win. And despite giving up an opening goal, you still end up with a comfortable score line. So you got to be pretty pleased with that, facing some early season adversity and being able to overcome it, and kind of taking it one step at a time there. So I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah. Then you have the complete and utter domination that was the game up against Missouri State, which was the home opener for K-State. K-State wins 3-0. Goals in the 6th minute by McKinnon Braswell, the 58th minute by Rylan Rintoul, and then the 76th minute by Kennedy Miller. The most telling stat of the day, perhaps the greatest shot disparity we have ever seen. Even against K-State, I don't think it got this bad during the dark ages. Missouri State had a grand total of 2 shots. K-State had 32 shots.
Yeah, that absolute complete and utter domination in this game. Another like notable way to divvy that up: K-State in the first half had 20 shots. Missouri State had 0 in the first half. It took quite a while for Missouri State to even get its first shot, and they only got one corner kick. K-State had 11. K-State had 13 shots on goal in this game, and only ended up with 3 goals. So, like, really what this says is that it's a combination of Missouri State's goalkeeper had an excellent day with 10 saves, but it's also like a little unlucky that K-State wasn't able to extend this out and have an even larger victory. Like, for reference, KU played Missouri State for Missouri State's first game of the year. KU won that game 7-0. But in that one, KU had 20 shots, 10 on goal. And Missouri State only had 1 shot on goal. 12 corner kicks for KU, 1 for Missouri State. And the fouls were even 9-9. K-State, I think, actually did out-foul Missouri State 10-7. But a few of those came pretty late. K-State rotated in a ton of subs late in this one, but K-State put up 12 more shots than KU did, 3 more on target than KU did. So like obviously KU ends up with the larger number on against a common opponent. But K-State still really admirable performance, even against a not very good team, to be able to statistically dominate to that degree. It's obvious that this should have been an even greater goal disparity. This probably should have been at least a 5-0 victory for K-State, but you can't complain about a 3-0 win, and you also you can't complain about an excellent defensive performance like K-State had as well, with playing so many different players as well, and just generally being able to have such a strong performance, and also getting Rylan Rintoul her second goal, Gabby Demirs getting her second goal as well. So Rylan Rintoul got her second goal, McKinnon Braswell got her second goal, Kennedy Miller got her second goal. So a lot of strong performances for K-State in this one, and this is the first one that we're able to watch. I got some bits and pieces of it. K-State just generally looks way more polished as a club than even last year. Last year offensively, we still were struggling a bit, but we looked noticeably better. At least in this game, and granted, maybe some of that's the quality of opponent, we are taking types of shots that I would have never expected us to be able to attempt in the past. And not because they were unrealistic, but because we just weren't good enough. And one other thought I had on this team is it actually made me a bit sad to think about how a lot of this group is holdover players from the Dabini era. And we're this much better with just, one season plus 3 games with a different coach. And it makes me actually genuinely a little bit sad that there were probably so many really solid soccer players that came through Manhattan that were doomed to not have good careers because the coaching was that bad.
We had someone who had probably the greatest K-State soccer career already.
Yeah, Brooklyn Ents was great under Dabini, and that was it. Not a single.
That is well, we had some good keepers under.
Yeah, we did. Well, we had to because we couldn't stop anyone. A goalkeeper who wants to stab at their best friend is a crappy coach because they're going to have to spend so much time cleaning up messes of bad defensive tactics. So, I digress on that, I guess. But, man, just the talent, I guess, it wasn't all here, but we definitely should have been doing a lot better than we were for a long time.
Yeah. We mentioned the all-time deserved better team. does Brooklyn Ends make that list, or does her individual accomplishments disqualify her?
No, she absolutely deserved better. I saw her play, I think, twice, and it was even sad back then because she was just that much better, not just from the players on the other team, no matter who we were playing, but she was just so much better than everyone else on our team as well. And it hurt, like if we were playing a really strong conference opponent, to watch one player on our side like match up and even exceed the other team, and just everyone else. It was kind of like watching like Pee Wee soccer, where like if you don't have the ball, you just kind of stand and watch. Like that's kind of how it felt on our side. We're just waiting for Brooklyn Ends to do something, and half the time that would actually work, and it covered up a lot of mistakes.
Yeah. But the next matches for K-State soccer is up against South Dakota State this coming Sunday on August 23rd. Then the next one, they get a week off. Then they go up against Nebraska coming down to Manhattan. So that'll be another big match. The only other thing to really note is something that I cannot speak to, as in quite literally, I did not bear witness to it, but it is the volleyball scrimmages. So I will Connor, the floor is yours, my friend. You can talk as long as you want about the Alleycats.
Yeah, I went to the scrimmage. I was there for I think like 2.5 sets until we were all hungry, and we were like, okay, like there's only so much we can glean from like them playing each other, and like we've seen them all play already. So we left like after 2.5 sets, but I think it was actually like pretty worthwhile. The big things for me were that it didn't seem like uh, we had a true set starting lineup. There was some interchanging between the teams, like swapping between sets, and there were also a couple of freshmen in this new class, like probably like 3, I'd say, that really stood out, and I thought looked like players that could push to be starters, and if not, then at least be in the rotation. I thought Ella Dare, which I learned because her last name is spelled Derrer, and so I was thinking it was like Durer or something like that, but the K-State pronunciation guide says Dare, just like the like phonetic pronunciation they have. It's just Dare, Dare. So the more you know. I had no idea I would have. There's a 0% chance I would ever guess that, but we need to learn it because I think she has the talent to be the starting middle blocker for the Alleycats as a freshman this year. I thought she was fantastic in the middle. Now I do think Cadence Lundgren's also really good in the middle, and I'd like to see her play a lot still, and maybe there's a way to get both of them on like a heavy like defensive lineup. But man, Ella Dare, like I think it's gonna be hard to keep her out of the game. And then the same thing could be said for Addison Massey, who's an outside hitter. I think she was a 2 or 3 time Gatorade Player of the Year in New Mexico, and she was really good too. She's also plays with a ton of energy as well, like big points. Like she's like having like some of the biggest reactions as well. So she like is like a big presence out on the court, and she played well. She had some really good moments of her own, and then one more who I wasn't expecting as much from, but I thought was pretty impressive was Skylar Brady as an outside hitter, maybe an opposite side hitter. She is also a true freshman. I actually played really well in her own right. A few others that stood out to me, Emerson Van Lannen had some excellent serves, which we saw some of that last year, but that continued in the scrimmage. She had a couple of runs of just really good serves, and I was really pleased with that. Fuka Sakita, the transfer from, I think, UTEP.
It's UTEP.
Yeah. I was going to say, it's either UTEP or DSA, but Yeah, UTEP. She was really strong as well. I thought Kaylee Pond was really good too. So like those are two where I think they were trying to figure out ways that they could keep both of them in because they're both worth playing quite a bit. But Kaylee Pond can be a defensive specialist or a libero. Fuka Sakita seems like is probably just a libero.
Well, she's 5'1", so
Yeah, so is they might call that a bit limited, but she is the ideal libero, and in that like she's basically what the position was made for. Like so, people that aren't like freakishly tall can still play volleyball. So, like, but she was really strong. And then Reagan Fox, it looked like she had a lot more power in her hits because she's always been decent on the outside, but she's never been able to quite get the zip on her attempt on her attack attempts that you've seen in the past from like a Nia Clinton and a Leah Carter. And she's not to that level, at least not consistently, but she definitely has a lot more zip on her attack attempts. But overall, like I was pretty happy with what I saw. It's still a huge TBD because I mean this was an intra-squad scrimmage, so like it's hard to draw a ton of like major conclusions from that. But especially with the young players, I was really happy with most of the performances, and I also really liked like there was like it's never offense has really not been much of an issue for Jason Mansfield teams, but on defense for both purple and white, consistently it seemed like there was a lot of like major efforts on what would otherwise be like very difficult ups. Like a lot of like there were I think two like what they call them pancakes where like they just get their hand under and they're able to like keep the ball in the air and a lot of other like diving saves and digs that I was I'm excited to see. So overall, and then also I think a big thing was this the purple squad, especially. I thought they looked really athletic. Like there was a lot of fast athletic movement, especially like even up in the middle blockers. Ella Dare and Cadence Lundgren, they both moved very well. They were on opposite sides, but Ella Dare is with the purple squad, and so yeah, I cautiously optimistic, but just because it's such a young group, but I think that there's room for at least 2 or 3 freshmen to get some like notable playing time this year. So I'm excited to see how things shake up for this Volleycat squad because like I thought it was an encouraging show.
Yeah, I'm also excited to watch them. They are my fall non-rev of choice. Granted, there's 2 choices, but that's really all we have in terms of news, unless you have anything else you want to note.
I don't think I have anything else.
All right. Well, if that's the case, thank you all for listening to this episode of the Aggieville Alleycats podcast. If you want to follow or contact the show, you can follow us just about anywhere at Aggieville Alleycats. And if you want to email us, we're AggievilleAlleycats@gmail.com. If you want to follow us on a more personal note, I am at ACEdwards00.
I am at Connor Robsor, capital C, capital B.
And if you want to support the show financially, please be sure to check out the official Aggieville Alleycats merch store, link found in our podcast and Twitter bios. But most importantly, thank you all for listening to this episode of the Aggieville Alleycats podcast. For come rain, shine, or anything in between, we're here to deliver to you the Kansas State sporting news that you so love. Stay safe, Alleycats.